So, good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Talent Finders would like to welcome entrepreneur, founder of Luxury Experience and Co., and known as the ultimate brand connector, Melissa McAvoy. So, welcome, Melissa.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, Melissa, I'd like to congratulate you on all your achievements. Can you please share with us more about how your entrepreneurial journey started?
Yes, absolutely. Back in my younger days, I was actually in the wine business. I was a PR director for a large import and distributor, and learned a lot from having that position, but also learning, as far as besides just PR, is business development, marketing, and connecting brands B2B and B2C.
Yes.
So when it came time to spread my wings about 10 years ago, I decided that I wanted to branch out and start my own company.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. Uniquely is, it's a great story, is that I was doing PR for wineries, was on my way to Aspen Food and Wine, and just happened to sit next to someone that worked for Rolls-Royce corporate.
Oh,
And
wow.
yes, and I just, I took the initiative, and I'm like, how do you get how do you stay connected with your clients?
Yes.
And, because it's a niche market,
Very
luxury
niche.
auto.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, it's referral. It's, most of the people who buy Rolls Royces stay with Rolls Royce.
Yes.
I was like, but how do you get them back to the dealership? And he's like, well, they typically don't come back to the dealership. When they have their service, everything's flatbedded, picked up and delivered back to their house.
Yeah. So it's almost like a concierge service.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But, thinking about wine and thinking about Rolls-Royce is, I'm like, well, why don't you do events? Well, wine events are huge. I know personally from being in the wine business with luxury clientele. And I go, the one thing that I do know is that people that can afford a Rolls Royce love wine, and they love to tell you how much they know about wine.
Yes, of course.
And he was like, you're right. And I was like, yeah, that's a great way to get them back to the dealership, because, being that Rolls Royce is, heavy on the bespoke aspect of the car, that's a way to get them back in and show them new things and, upgrades and, what have you. And so, great conversation, landing in Aspen. I don't know if you've done it before. I almost threw up. But luckily I had, a great passenger next to me that, held my hand. And so then we got off the plane, and I invited them to our distributor wine tasting, and they showed up with 2 Rolls Royces. So keep in mind, these are all like the CEOs of every major distributor in the country.
Yes, of course.
So, they're taking pictures with the bottles in the car, obviously not driving, and they're all excited, and like, it's just this nice experience, like a luxury element in Aspen.
Yes.
So it was a win-win for them and for my, my clients. And then about, I would say 3 weeks later, I had, made the plunge to leave my very lucrative position. Yes. And start my own company. And I got a call from one of the largest Rolls-Royce dealerships in the country, which happens to be in Beverly Hills. And they were supposed to hire me to do wine events.
Amazing.
And so obviously, I'm like, who are you? And
Yes.
But as I'm Googling at the same time, I'm like, okay, let's set up a time to meet. But then I get a phone call from the person that I sat next to on that plane, and it happened to be Eric Shepard, who at the time was the president of Rolls-Royce North America.
Gee, that's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. So Rolls-Royce was actually my first client.
Wow, that's incredible. Talk about alignment and energy, right?
Yeah. And also too, is you never know who you're talking to.
Absolutely.
And so because of that, I've had a great relationship for the last 10 years in doing events with Rolls-Royce. But I immediately, because of, the structure of dealerships, is I then started working with Bentley and Lamborghini and McLaren, and basically anything over $300,000, dollars that ends with an I.
Yes.
So, it was a great start to the company.
Yes.
And, then, we branched off and, because of the luxury market and working with private aviation after that, luxury watch, jewelry, Bloomingdale's, Nordstrom's, doing events, is I saw, that we were getting a lot of talent as far as like professional athletes, celebrities coming to these events.
Yes.
And I got introduced to the celebrity gifting lounge,
Yeah, I've been to one in Los Angeles for the Emmys.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, but for me, which I saw an element that was missing.
Yes.
And because, you can have like the beauty products, you can have the trips. And I was like, I had the contacts and the clients to bring more of a luxury element to the event.
Yes.
So, we did Super Bowl, but we partnered with David off of Geneva and Bloomingdale's, and I brought in Rolls-Royce.
Wow, that's amazing.
So Rolls-Royce is, gifting a car for a week to these athletes and celebrities. And I saw where I was going back to my old roots of partnering luxury brands so they can connect their clients.
Yeah.
And now utilizing the gifting lounges now to do the same thing.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. So one of the key specialities, which obviously you've just spoken about, is branding and connecting your clients with exclusive brands to celebrities, influencers, and pro athletes. So can you share with us more about this, and what are some of the key elements you look for when aligning brands to brand ambassadors?
So the big thing is, for say the gifting lounges, is when we're dealing with, because we'll get say 350 to 400 submissions of, influencers, celebrities, athletes that want to come to the gifting lounge.
Yes.
But we really have to look at our clients, the brands, and who they're targeting. And we pick and we, filter through and make sure that we have the top 100 talent attending that are on the same level as far as marketing, because you can't bring in say an influencer. They may have 2 million followers, but they're not on the, they're not aligned with the brands that are in our gifting lounge.
Yeah, for sure.
Because what happens at these gifting lounges, as you know, is every, celebrity, athlete, influencer, they have to take a picture with each brand.
Yes.
And so if we bring in the wrong type of talent and a brand who they spend a lot of money because they use that content, within their marketing program.
Yeah.
And if we're bringing in the wrong type of talent, then they're like, we can't even use these pictures because they're not on brand.
Yes.
And so we have to be very careful, and we work with the brands too. So we'll share the submission list. And where typically brands don't, or other companies don't do that. They don't share.
Yeah.
They don't share the tools in the toolbox.
Yes, which is very important.
Very important, because then what we're doing is they know that they've had a part in handpicking the talent. And then also is, besides the talent, is the B2B. So we, and we're very selective in the brands that we bring in, because we, one, we want to connect those brands so they become friends prior to the event. And so by the event comes, is they're sort of a team. They're like, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
But then it's like, how can we collaborate after the event, with brand partnerships?
Yes,
so
because you want things to remain consistent.
Yeah, they have to be consistent, but they have to keep going. That's why we have so many brands that work with us repeatedly, like Bloomingdale's, for example. I mean, we've worked with them now on 7 events because they see the value in the talent the ROI, and also the brands that they're also meeting at the events.
Yes, of course.
So, we try to steer clear of, adult brands. We're very, always thinking about how does this reflect on us as a company,
Yes.
and how does it reflect on the other brands that are involved in each event.
Yeah, no, absolutely, that makes sense. So
Yeah,
what would you say some of your biggest lessons and learnings have been within your career?
Ooh, that's a great question. One of the biggest things, and I always stress it with, the people that work for me and with the brands, is follow up.
Oh, for sure. That's a big one.
Is relationships, because people are like, oh, you have to know somebody. And I'm like, well, you have to know people, but you have to keep those relationships going. Even if it's not a profitable, at the time, it's not something that's profitable for your company or for yourself, is you never know down the road where something's going to come back, and you keep those connections, and then someone's referring you a brand, or they're referring you, talent. So my biggest thing is always keeping, the lines of communication, always keeping up to date and being invested in, what brands are doing, because you never know. You have, a perfect example is I have a childhood friend. Our dads were both doctors. They own a medical group together, and it's called UV Concepts. And it's actually going, into COVID-19.
Yes.
UV Concepts is a company that is a medical tech. It's a machine where you put in equipment and you push a button, in 60 seconds, it's all sanitized. Yeah. And so, they're obviously, blowing up right now, as you can imagine. And I never saw myself in the, medical tech field, but Jason, one of the founders, reached out to me, and he's like, Melissa, we want to work with you, because we love the element that you have such a big connection base. Yeah. And especially in the sports world, because of working with all the athletes. So we want to integrate into the professional sports arena where, training camp, that machine's there. And at the end of the day, each player has their equipment put in there and it's sanitized for the next day.
Wow, that's amazing.
So it's like, I would never think, that we would ever work together. And now it's one of my biggest clients.
Geez, that's amazing. It's amazing how things just grow organically too.
Right. But it's staying connected. Like, I always stayed connected with him, and he always stayed in, it was great because he always stayed connected to me. He knew what, everything I was doing, and he, knew that we did the Super Bowl, and we work with, the NFL, the Major League Baseball, NHL, with all the, sports agents, publicists. We love them.
Yes.
And so I had those connections that he knew I had.
Yes.
And so obviously the PR side, but it was more the, in the partnership, brand partnerships and integration.
Yeah, absolutely. So as COVID-19 has obviously turned our world inside out and upside down, it has also created an opportunity to reinvent ourselves. What I would like to know from you is how during this pandemic have you had to change and adapt within your own business, and can you give us some examples?
I have a perfect example. So obviously, we were based in live events, in-person experience.
Yes.
And because of, the times right now, is I had to really look outside the box and say, how can we keep going and still, do that side of the business in this time? Yes. So that's where I was like, we launched our virtual gifting lounge. Yes. So, which it's the same format, but it's not, obviously we are sending the prepackaged gift bags, boxes to the talent, and working with the talent for them to post and get that, they need that picture. As you know, the gifting lounge, the biggest thing for the brand is they need the picture with talent. So that's where, it hit me. I'm like, why aren't we going virtual, until we can get back. I mean, right now we're scheduled for October to do our first, live event, which will obviously change. And we'll be doing it in a format that's safe for everybody, not having as many brands on site, being appointment, everything's appointment only of when everyone comes in, and the touch points of, are limited.
Yes.
So, the virtual gifting, it's, it was like, recreating the wheel, but, staying true to the, what we do. So, after those events is we always, and this is unlike any other company, is everyone that attends that gifting lounge is we give that content and that information to the brands. Yes. So, and going back to follow-up, because now what do we want those brands to do? We want those brands to have the ability to follow up and keep the relationship going with the talent.
Yes.
Because then that's where the brand, the brand ambassadors, the partnerships, come into play.
Yeah, absolutely. So that leads me to the next question of branding and marketing and endorsements. Has obviously been a huge income stream for brands and for pro athletes, celebrities, and influencers. So how, since COVID-19 and other global challenges impacted both brands and athletes, and how do you believe this will change going forward? While some brands have pulled back on their spend and on branding and marketing, so how has this impacted the luxury market?
So, I mean, it's a great question. The big thing that we've seen is obviously, brands, they have their marketing, for the year. They have their program, they have their plan, and, they have the events that they do, and it's all strategic for content for certain, marketing programs that they have in place.
Yeah.
It is now is we, everyone's like going back to the drawing board and saying, okay, how can we get the content? How can we, get the advertising and marketing through and the brand ambassadors on board? And quite honestly, I mean, we talk to talent every day and athletes, and they're all saying the same thing. Is they're all saying, Melissa, I'm sitting at home. And I'm not able to go to events and connect with brands and, market myself as an influencer, as talent.
Yeah.
And so that's where now is there, like, we actually are working with talent to help them. Is talent saying, Melissa, what brands do you have that you can introduce me to? So it's interesting because we're on both sides.
Yes,
which
of course.
But it's like you have to figure out, how to get these people together, and then that's the connecting. The connecting is the biggest thing, is making sure that they're still having that connection. And even if, say, they, brand, we have brands that don't even do the gifting lounges. Those are our PR business development clients only. Is we work just to get them in contact with their targeted talent.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah, but I mean, as you know, like, none of us saw this coming.
No.
And, I know brands that are like launching, and like we have a company that we just took on as a client. It's called Space Skincare. It's a charcoal mask skincare line. And, they are just launching, and they're like, what do we do? And we're like, so that's where we work with them to say, okay, let's, we were going left, let's go right and target hotel placement, hotel partnerships, obviously press and talent, but then including in that luxury market is, how do the hotels, the private jets, the yachts, the luxury experience brands, how do they improve the experience for their clients? So that's where we tweaked what we were going to do with Space Skincare, and we're like, okay, now we're going to target on this.
Yes, which makes sense.
Right.
So
And
what?
that's where we fall into then we're doing placement, almost basically sales for our clients.
Wow, that's amazing. So it's definitely made you evolve and change and adapt in a good way. So, and it sounds like it's being very effective.
Yes, it has. And that's a big thing in, being in PR. And, PR was a lot different, say 5 years ago,
Yes,
is, because brands are, brands are saying, why am I paying a marketing director, a PR director, a social media, why am I paying 5 people when I can pay one company to do all 5 jobs?
yes, of
And
course.
which
And then
allocates dollars to other things.
yes, and then also you have a team of people that obviously specializes in each thing under one umbrella.
Absolutely. And for me, what was really important being a woman-owned business is I have, right now we have about 10 women that work for the company, but they all have their own niche, as far as, digital marketing, social media, public, PR, business development, but it's like utilizing all their talents, for each brand.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. That's amazing. So what would you say some of your biggest career highlights have
Mm.
been?
Well, obviously,
Probably been many.
yeah. Well, the biggest, what I would say, accomplishments is having such a broad base of clients.
Yes.
Going from Rolls Royce to UV Concepts to Bloomingdale's.
Yes.
And then in between, working with amazing startups like, Space Skincare or MTM Bags. Like it's always about learning for me. And it's like, I know people that like, oh, we only focus on beauty, or we only focus on luxury auto. We only focus on this. I think that my biggest, success is being able to have such a broad spectrum of clients. So when something new comes in, we can think really quick and be like, okay, this is how we can help you.
Yeah.
Never say, oh, no, we don't do that. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, we don't do it. Like I said, we try to be very careful of the type of brands that we work with. But,
Yes.
it's, for me, it's just, I get super excited when I have like a brand that that like medical tech, it's like,
And industries that you probably didn't even think you would even venture into, which is amazing.
Never. But as soon as we dove into it, and I mean, we're working right now to, the first partnership or anything that we're working on with them is for the, Los Angeles Chargers.
Gee, that's amazing.
I mean, so thinking of that on the new, tech modern, as we know in LA, this amazing stadium for the Rams and the Chargers is being built, is now you're involving them in something that's growing and it's going to be, huge. So I get super excited, and it's like, soon as like my mind goes and I'm just like off to the races, but yes. I get excited. And that's another big thing is if you're not excited about a client, like you're not doing them good service.
No, of course not.
And I'll never take a client on that I'm not like passionate about or excited about, because I'm like, we're working together. Like, I'm not consulting for you. Like, we're working together.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a team thing.
Right. Because if they succeed and they're getting what they need, then it's a long-term relationship. They're excited, but you have the ability to like give them ideas to evolve their business.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's almost like you feel like you're a part of it and you're not just the outside consulting firm.
Yeah, exactly. So that leads me to the next question. And you have touched on it about the celebrity gifting lounges, obviously marketing campaigns, public relations, and strategic partnerships. So can you share with us more about this? And when working with clients, especially on the high-end luxury, end of it, are you selective about the clients and brands you work with? And what specific criteria do you have before taking on a client, if any?
Right, and that's going back, to the, previous question.
Yes.
Is, they have to fit into our mold as far as in being like-minded with, their deliverables, their, what their outreach is. We're not going to take on a client. I mean, I love all brands, but for our model, like, not this, like Kia is not someone we would work with because they don't fit our model. Like, no. I can't park a Kia at Bloomingdale's for an event.
No.
You understand? So even though I love Kia, nothing wrong with IKEA, or not IKEA, Kia cars, is that we always have to be aware that whoever that we're bringing in, they are like-minded to the other brands that we work with. Yeah. So, the Space Skincare is, they're gearing towards like the luxury market. So that works, and we're integrating them into like client gifting for luxury, hotel, auto, what have you. Yeah. Is it needs to make sense, and we have to be able to interject and connect them with our other brands in talent.
Yes, of course. So I want to talk about celebrity influence and brand alignment, as there seems to have been a shift in which many are saying that celebrity does not have as much impact as it used to have, due to the very little or no engagement to celebrities, or that celebrities, engage with their audience, and other brand ambassadors aligned to brands. So do you believe this has changed or impacted brands, and what do you believe needs to happen to change this?
That's a great question. I do think it's, when it comes to celebrities, I think there's become that disconnect of they don't want to feel like they're selling something.
Yeah.
I mean, a perfect example was when George Clooney, he, did the deal with Nespresso.
Yes.
In Italy, initially. It was like, it was like the secret in America that he was like a brand ambassador for Nespresso. Okay. But then you saw like in China, in Japan and everything, all these like Brad Pitt, all these, they were obviously getting paid like, huge
millions,
but it was still like hush hush, because they didn't want to look like they were selling out. Yeah. And what I've seen with the celebrity side is, I mean, we love working with celebrities, but it's like they don't want to like not look cool and not like look like they're selling out.
Yeah. When
really, if they pick the right brands, and that's where, for us, like for Oscars, is we have to be very careful of the brands we bring in, because those are celebrities. We typically focus on influencers, like at Coachella and specific influencer gifting lounges. Same with athletes. So I think, getting back, and I think there'll be a turn, because everyone's affected, especially right now financially.
Yeah.
As I think you will see more people being open to partnerships with brands. Yeah. The big thing, I mean, that's why, we work with athletes a lot, is athletes are, they have a shelf life.
Yeah, big time. So it's very short-lived.
Yes, it's very short-lived. And what I've seen with publicists and agents, which, I applaud them, is right from the beginning, even though they say they signed this big deal, this big contract, is they're like, you need to get endorsement deals, because, especially the NFL. The NFL is not a guaranteed contract.
No,
and if you get hurt, you're done.
Yeah.
So you need to be integrating and meeting, and we need to be open to getting these deals with the right brands right off the bat. Yeah. So, I mean, I have some of the biggest names like NBA, NFL, that I've, made, become friends with from the gifting lounges. They're like, when's your next event? Like, what brands are you working with right now?
Yeah.
And I have agents that are saying, what brands are you working right now that I can introduce to my 50 clients?
Yeah.
So that's where I see it, it's, that's why, with the athletes, it's a no-brainer. And it's very exciting because these guys they're becoming more educated.
Yes.
And
And
more
also treating it more like a business and not like a side hustle.
Absolutely. Like they're more, and you have to commend the agents and the publicists because, they're not just taking on a client that has a big contract and they're going to parties and they're getting maybe like a Gatorade or they're getting like the typical stuff. Is they're really saying from the beginning is we need to get you, say, 10 endorsement deals with the right brands right away.
Yes. And also it has to align with each person's principles and things as well. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So leadership is a big subject at the moment, or lack of leadership. So what do you believe makes you unique in your leadership style and working with clients and brands that you work with? And what do you believe entrepreneurs need to change to become better leaders? And what do you believe needs to change on a global scale to improve the current narrative?
I think a big thing is transparency.
Yes.
Is, to give you an example, is that so all of our clients, we share everything. So all of our reports from day one are all live. And so they're seeing, they can go on, look any day, any time of day, and look what we're doing. And it's really important that the transparency in that and then it's communication, because if you're pitching and you're trying to doing all this stuff and then at the end of the month you're giving a report to your client with an invoice, is they at the end of the month they're like, well, no, we want to go a different direction. But if you're transparent and you're working together, and so it's like you're working as a team, they can be like, oh no, let's focus. So then you're not losing a month and then you're going, sidetracking and you've wasted time. So I think it's really important that, companies are like, oh no, we're going to hold, we can't share our media list with our clients. We can't share the information.
Yeah.
You just have to give them like the specific highlights at the end of the month, where we work directly with the brands so they know, we're, Mike at Forbes magazine, we're talking to Bloomingdale's and Jonathan Torres, and, they know the whole time.
Yes.
So they feel like they still have control of their brand, but we're working in the leadership to say this, we're directing them, but keeping them involved.
Yes.
And I think as an entrepreneur and as a business owner is I utilize in the same way with everyone who works with me. Like I have a couple interns that are just amazing, but what I'm really big about is they're involved in everything.
Yes.
And they see everything, and they're talking to people they never thought that they would ever see a contact information for.
Yeah.
And so when they go back to school and there's like, I learned so much. And at the end of the month, it's like, okay, what projects did we work on? What did you learn from this?
Yes.
And then what are we going to focus on next month? And for you to learn a different aspect of the company. And so that's how we try to evolve them. So they're not saying, oh, I had a great internship, I met a bunch of celebrities, but I was really just doing like the work no one else wanted to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Because to this day, I'm still doing all that grunt work and because I actually feel guilty, just handing it off because you don't really learn. So,
exactly.
And I don't want anyone to walk away saying I didn't learn anything and they just like gave me meaningless tasks.
Yeah, absolutely.
As an entrepreneur, it's really important that you involve yourself with and work with is that you're always working together and it's transparent and everyone's learning the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, you also do events and launches for clients. So, what are some of the most successful events and launches that you have done for clients? If you can give any examples.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've worked with, say, Piaget. We've done some, some diamond launches in New York City, LA, Miami. And those were unique to, broadening, because everyone thinks of Piaget as just watches. And so we were excited to have them as a client and help them broaden their awareness of, what all they encompass besides
Yes,
watches. But at the same time, being Melissa, is, each one in Miami, I partnered them with Lamborghini.
yes,
In New York, I partnered them with Rolls Royce. In Beverly Hills, I partnered them with McLaren.
yes,
So it was, and I always joke is when you think about luxury auto, is they all have their own different personality. And it's like, I have 6 clients and they're all like a different type of boyfriend. They all have their personality, what's unique about them, what type, who drives that car. And so by, doing that and broadening the awareness, but then also connecting them, because when we do an event, we have, the qualified buyers that are coming in, but then Rolls Royce is bringing in half the people that are their clients.
yes,
So they're all, it's all qualified, but then afterwards they leave and they become friends. And then we do another event, say it's at Rolls Royce,
yes.
and bring in Piaget. So I would say that, is, one of the highlights. I mean, obviously, I've done a car launch for, Rolls Royce, McLaren, Lamborghini, Bentley, all across the board. So unveiling that car, which is super exciting, and it's a unique plan. They have this car when it comes into the country. It has its schedule.
Yes.
Where it's going to be at what dealership across the country. And then you get that plan, say Porsche. Porsche's very good and very structured.
Yes.
And I love structure. Is they're like, this is what we need to do by the minute and tell a story and,
Yes.
then unveil the car. And
Yes.
the biggest thing is like, if you can create the experience and tell the story uniquely each time,
Yes.
it's, that's what's fun to me.
So that leads me to the next last 2 questions. So what are the 3 key pieces of advice you would give to other entrepreneurs, and what legacy would you like to leave?
What would I would say, first of all, get on LinkedIn, connect and pick like, say, 20 people a day. I spend about 20 minutes each morning and just go on there. You read what people are doing, my connections, but
Yes.
then I pick 20 people to reach out to you to connect with. And I do that every day.
Yes.
And it's because then you're connecting and you're building that base, and
Yes.
you're building, and that's something that is priceless.
Yes.
Because that's how you're going to build your business, is connect. The other thing is as many, like in any PR marketing, we're all out there like, like we're not, everyone thinks we're competing, and like you can't show your cards. What I've learned is
About collaboration.
some of my best partnerships are with other publicists and business development directors.
Yes.
It's like, why aren't we working together? And
yes, I agree.
so that's like the number 2 is like, you want to learn, because I've learned so much from other people and what they're doing with their clients, that then I can incorporate it with my clients. And then there's, then you have opportunities to work together. Or they may say, Melissa, I'm going to refer you to, a client, or vice versa.
Yes.
So yeah, that's really important. And, going back to the follow-up, I can't stress that enough, is people will love you and stay connected with you if you ask questions.
Yes.
And it's not just like, please connect with me, because of who you work with. It's like, what's coming up in the next quarter? What do you guys, what is this brand focusing on?
Yeah.
So that's where, when you ask questions, then you're bringing value, and there's, it's like, wow, Melissa's actually interested in my company and what I'm doing.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
and what legacy would you like to leave?
Oh, well, that's interesting. That would be a good question. Would be, one is that I'm a mommy.
Yes.
And I have two little boys that are 11 and 13, but I run this company, and being able to do that, be a mom and be successful in business, and look back, and everyone that I've worked with have something positive to take away from what I brought to them.
Amazing. I love that. So thanks so much for joining us today, Melissa. And if people want to connect with you, what are the best platforms to do so?
LinkedIn, either Melissa McAvoy or Luxury Experiencing Co. Our website, luxuryexperienceco.com.
Yeah.
Or honestly, I love when people just shoot me an email and introduce themselves, and get the ball rolling, and just, I love when people tell me about them.
Yes.
And it's like introducing me to their clients or whatever, and say, hey, maybe, let's jump on a call. Because just like allocating time to connect, like on LinkedIn, if you spend, say, 30 minutes of your day and get off social media and actually reach out to, say, send out 20 emails, just introducing yourself and asking about their clients and what they're doing or what they're up to, is people actually appreciate that. And I love when I get those emails, because I'm like, you don't always have to email someone to ask them for something.
Exactly.
It's like,
it's about just relationship building, as well.
Right, because it's like, it's like you get so many when they're you get a lot of solicited emails, but when someone just sends an email to say, hey, I saw you did this, or you had this event, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is what I'm doing right now, would love to connect.
Yes, absolutely.
I would never not return that email, one. And two, it's like, let's get on a call, because then you look outside of the box and be like, how can we work together?
Yes, exactly. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and hopefully we can have you back in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. I loved, talking to you, and especially at this time, during these times, it's always nice to be able to go through and talk and have a platform.
Yes, absolutely.